Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Marketing Ping Pong podcast. My name is Allie,
And my name is Duncan.
and today we are getting vulnerable. We are going to be talking about a subject that comes up a lot. You know, we talk about marketing and the things that you need to do in marketing, etc. And I know for you and I both, Duncan, that sometimes we know what we need to do and we're not actually doing it.
Mm.
So today we're going to unpack that. Like, anything in business, there are certain things you need to do in business. And I hear from people all the time, like, hey, I know I should be doing X, but I'm not. I know I should be doing Y, but I'm not. And it goes beyond business, it's in our personal lives as well. But more specifically, why do we not do things in our business that we know we need to do? And then the follow up on that, a teaser of what's coming later in this episode, something that I'm really passionate about that I've just kind of realized recently, so I need to talk about it, is why business advice is for men. And I'm hoping to disagree with Duncan, that we're going to have a strong back and forth debate about this. But I don't think that's going to end up happening. I think
No,
we're
you're 100% wrong.
okay, perfect. So it should be a spicy episode. I'm very excited. All right, so let's talk about why you don't do what you know you need to do.
Okay.
So
Am
let's
I
just
going
roll right
first?
into it.
Who's going to be the most vulnerable? Is it you or me? Who's
Well,
first?
I'm gonna intro it a little bit more here.
Okay.
So I've been teaching marketing for 5-ish years now. I've had hundreds of clients. And there are so many of them that I get frustrated when I look at them and say, why aren't they doing X? Like, that is the main thing that I'm teaching right now, and they're not doing it. So I've had this experience over years and years and years of realizing that people don't do what they need to do. And that's been a big question that I've been asking both of myself, but also, how can I help my clients actually get the thing done that they know they need to do? So let's talk about some of the reasons why. Let's get vulnerable. Let's get vulnerable and talk about why we don't do the things that we need to do. And then we can pull in like some of my clients' experiences and some of the things that I know that they're going through. Because this is a frustrating thing, right? We know we want to grow our business. We know there are certain things we're supposed to do to do that, to make more money, to meet our goals, etc. And days go by and weeks go by and months go by, and it's not actually getting done. You look back and you're like, why haven't I been doing this for the last 6 months when I know that's the thing I need to be doing to grow my business? So, Duncan, are you ready to be vulnerable first and tell us, why is it you don't do the things you know you need to do?
I feel so exposed right now. It's okay though. It's okay to be vulnerable. I think you have
It
to.
is.
I think you have to be vulnerable. You have to be the only way to get out of that place where you're not doing the things that you know you should be doing is to be honest about it, right? It's like whatever is it acceptance that's the first step. Like you have to you have to understand that you're actually doing this and accept it and acknowledge it in order to move forward. So let's get real here. So let's talk about the thing that I'm not doing that I know that I should be doing, and I'll say probably why I think it's happening, and then you can help. You can psychologize me. You can help me be better. So one of the things that I find myself doing over and over again, or rather not doing, is having a lead come in for my business, and then following up once, maybe twice, and then kind of letting the lead die. Right. So I have a marketing agency and a video and photo company, and I'm a marketing nerd. Like I love everything about marketing. I'm down the rabbit hole learning everything that I can about marketing because it's fascinating to me. Yet I don't do one of the like the basic things. For some of these leads, I don't even have like an email sequence set up to automatically get sent to these people, which is the easiest thing in the world to do. Just um, a basic follow-up sequence of like, hey, it was really nice to talk to you on that call. I would love to speak to you again about this. Here's some resources that might be helpful to you in your journey as a business owner. Very simple thing for me to do. I know that I should, but I have not been doing it. So to clarify a little bit, there is a pretty well written email sequence for my video people, my video leads that come in, because I really know that product. I know that side of the business. I know that I can deliver a product and service that people like, and that gets results for people and that I enjoy fulfilling, right? So that's that side of it. And I've done the work to help streamline that customer acquisition process and the sales and marketing process over there. And when I post things on social media and when I do the things that I know I'm supposed to do, they tend to like be for that kind of client. So on the kinds of clients that I'm not really following up with are local business marketing clients, which is crazy, right? It's like that's a really high margin thing. It's a fairly simple thing for me to fulfill because I know what people need to do. I know what I need to do to make that kind of system work for people, but I'm still not following up with them. And I'll tell you why I think that is. I think that it's mainly because I don't enjoy the fulfillment. I don't really like doing the marketing for other people. I like learning about marketing. I like doing my own marketing for things that I am excited about, products and services excited about fulfilling. I like talking to other people and them going and doing the work for their own marketing and seeing it work. That's fun for me. When it comes to the regular fulfillment of these marketing services, even handling the ongoing relationships with the clients, and the friction that comes up, it's hard for me. It's like it's difficult running into the same problems over and over again with marketing clients. And I think that's the reason that even though I still say that I provide digital marketing services, oftentimes I don't pursue those client relationships as hard as I should or could if I actually wanted to fulfill that service. So that's why I don't think I'm doing that. It's like a holdup because I don't like that product, even though I can do it. I don't enjoy it, so I don't follow up with those leads. What do you got for me, Allie?
No, I think that's super insightful, and I think that's exactly right. And we've talked about this a little bit before about how there are some people that are built for the front end and there are people that are built for the back end, right? And you and I tend to be built for the front end, like going out there educating, finding new problems to solve. We're both very much that kind of person of, there's bring me a challenge, I'll solve the challenge. Let me create a new funnel, let me create a new system. That's why we like doing the marketing ping pong call, because it's a way to challenge our brain and get us thinking in a different direction. I also hate fulfillment. So I think that, and not in the way that, like, I hate fulfillment the way that your business is set up. And I've tried doing that before. I've had one-on-one coaching clients. And after like the second or third call, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And then I feel like, oh my gosh, I hope they cancel. I hope like something happens that we don't have to do this call today. And, I brought on 4 coaching clients last year and couldn't wait for them to be done. Nothing against them. They were great. It's just, I didn't like that long term having to fulfill and having to show up in the same way over and over again because it gets monotonous for me.
Yep. Yep.
Also kind of that you've mentioned, like that, the client is unhappy or has questions, and now it's up to you to make them happy, and kind of the pressure and the stress that puts on you.
Yep.
So I think in this case, the reason why you don't do what you should be doing, because you shouldn't be doing it in the first place,
Ooh, that's
right?
deep. That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't even be doing it because it's so against how you're built
Hmm.
that that it's just not something that should be even on your plate. And I
Yep.
think this is an interesting conversation, because there are people who say, well, I'm not good at social media. That's why I'm putting it off. And that's why I'm not doing it. So therefore I should have somebody else do it. And that's a difficult one for, like you're able to completely change your business to match who you are, right?
Yep.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing with Marketing Power Hour, between Marketing Ping Pong and Marketing Power Hour, and putting that program together where it's more about teaching and helping and coaching people versus doing for. I think there's the tricky part is knowing the difference between this is a skill I have not yet learned how to do, therefore it's difficult for me and that's why I'm avoiding it, versus I know how to do this and every time I do it I want to stab my brains out and I hate it like so terribly much. And I think that there's got to be some awareness between those two things. I was very
Sure.
aware with our handmade business that if I had to make toys every day, I was going to go insane.
Mm.
But my husband is really, really good at that. He can sit and make the same toy over and over and over and over and over. And it's not because I don't know how to make the toy. In some cases, that was the case. Like maybe I don't have the hand strength to do some things, and or I don't want to use the big bandsaw with the pliers and like getting real close up to the blade. But mostly it was just like bored to tears, bored to tears.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. Don't want to do it. And
Yep.
he's not bored to tears. He's having a great time. So, what is the difference between I'm not doing it because I don't know how to do it and I'm feeling frustrated and I'm feeling like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm not good at it, or I'm not doing it because I shouldn't be doing it. I
Yeah,
should be
it doesn't
giving this a
align with
chance.
who I am as a person. And I
Yes.
think the hard thing for me, the hard thing I've had to come to terms with, because I consider myself like introspective and like I know I insightful about like my own life and what I like and what I don't like, is that no matter how much you think you know about yourself, there's more to learn, right?
Mm.
It's been a hard lesson for me, really sitting down and doing thinking time. So thank you for giving me that book. That's been one of the biggest things for me, is sitting down, intentionally trying to figure out what I want out of my life and realizing that I have the skills to accomplish whatever I want, to build whatever kind of life I want, and then actually taking action on it. Those are two different things, right? So you can have the realization and still not take the action.
Mm.
It's about like realizing it and then also implementing a plan to make the change. And it can be hard. I think change is like, I don't know, people people avoid, this is another thing we talked about on the Marketing Power Hour call the other day, another cognitive bias. People are more motivated by the the urge to stay out of pain, right? It's like you're more motivated by avoiding pain than seeking pleasure, right? And it can be painful to change, to like change my whole business and change my marketing and change my messaging and go a different direction and lose out on money by saying no to clients. All of that is pain. And it's like we're wired to stay, to want to stay
Safe.
where we're comfortable, yeah, and
Yeah.
safe, as opposed to, even though my life would be better making that change, we're wired to avoid that kind of pain and discomfort. So like leaning into that and really being intentional about saying like, I know what my life is going to be like if I make these changes in X amount of time, and then actually committing to it and doing it has been difficult, but good. So.
But I think you said something important there, that you've very introspective and you've thought about like where you want to be personally. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we focus on one part and not the other. So I know where I want to be personally. Let's say I want to make $1 million, right? I want to make $1 million. And then
Sure.
I can look at an agency and say, okay, if I bring on clients at 5 grand a piece and I build a team and I do this and I do that, at the end of the year, I make $1 million.
Yep.
So you can do that math and say, all right, all of that makes sense. That gets me to my personal goal. But you're not actually looking at who am I as a person? What are my skills? What are my strengths and my weaknesses? And should I, because I looked at doing an agency at one point in time, I didn't get very far because I was like, this isn't me. Like, this is
Mhm.
not comfortable to me at a visceral level. Like,
Yep.
I'm not comfortable pitching these sorts of things. I don't like the sales tactics that I was taught to use.
Yep.
I'm like, I think this is slimy and kind of gross. And then I realize, people are difficult to work with, and that's not really the environment that I want to be in.
Yep.
And so I chose not to start that business. And I think what some people do is they say, okay, this is the business I chose. And so how do I make myself do it?
Yep.
Instead of saying, how can I choose a business that better aligns with who I am and how I interact in the world? so that it's easy for me. I'm a big fan of easy over hard,
Yep.
right? If I can do it the easy way and be profitable, why would I choose the hard way to try to make it profitable when I could be
Yeah.
easy? Yeah.
Somebody said that something that like exactly explains that to you the other day at a networking thing that we were at. It was like, why am I working this hard doing what I'm doing when you're doing that? They said that to you, and it's like, well, they're clearly just seeing a lifestyle that they want to live
Mhm.
reflected in somebody else's business, and all that is an intentional choice before you start the business or through your journey of creating your business and of iteration and changing things, realizing that in yourself that you're building something that you're not enjoying running or operating, and making that change. And it's not necessarily realistic for everybody, right? So like that example specifically, she is in a business right now, and she was talking about it, and it's growing and everything's going well, and she was also telling us about this other thing that she's super passionate about that she wants to do, that if she had the choice, she would just do this and not do the
Mhm.
business that she's doing now. And it's like, it's such a hard thing to hear because, on one hand, I'm like, do what you're passionate about. Like all the things that you're learning in, our marketing power hour calls and in the group, it's like they're the skills that you need to build any business that you want to build. But on the other hand, it's like her business is successful and it's providing for her family and their lifestyle. So you don't just want to, sink that business and go a different direction. And you made a great point. Like she shouldn't necessarily focus on that too and to grow that, because it'll split her attention from this thing that's making all the money. So there's so many things tied up in that. Like how big is the business that you built that you don't actually enjoy, and like
Mhm.
how dependent are you on the income, how comfortable are you building out teams and systems of people that can actually manage that business so you can go focus on what you want. There's like so many skills and lessons wrapped up in that, in building a business or starting a business that actually fits your personality. It's that it's hard to really
It's so
change once you get
funny.
started.
You got to all the way to the end of that story before I realized which story you were telling.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I remember that conversation."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, "I wasn't there. I don't know who you're talking about."
I never know how much to like say about,
I know, but it took me a while. I'm like, "Okay, I know that conversation."
yeah, we were
But
both there for
you're right. There's the thing that you're passionate about and you hate to give up on, and that's, man, that's a tough thing. So like I love teaching and I love coaching.
that. Mm,
Um and there are things that I have to do in my business that I don't enjoy as much, such as social media. Like it's I really love teaching social media. I love doing it to an extent, but I'm doing social media for several different companies now in different ways.
yep.
And I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get bored with this. So do I just keep pushing through? Do I find a way to not do the social media? You know what I'm saying? So there's always this thing of like, is it just, is it my ADHD that's telling me we want to move on to something bright and shiny?
Yep.
Or am I, or am I genuinely unhappy here and need to go somewhere else in order to be happy? There's a
Yep.
lot of that. You have to be super introspective,
A lot of soul searching for
a
sure.
lot of soul searching on that of why am I feeling like jumping ship? Or why am I feeling like I maybe this business did align with me and now it's not aligning with me? And is that a permanent feeling or is that a today feeling or a this week feeling? And I'm going to think differently. Or are there even some minor adjustments that I can make in my business that allows me to find my joy in it again, maybe
Yeah.
handing off some things of it. But yeah, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you really if you dread doing the work, I think dread is the part that, like, I don't dread doing the social media. It feels a bit like a chore again because there's just a lot of it. But I always approach it with, but I'm learning something every time I do it. I'm learning something and I'm pushing my own boundaries, and that's not always comfortable to push your own boundaries, right?
Yep.
So it's a chore, but I don't dread it. I don't think like, okay, oh my gosh, I hate this. That is dreading is calling people, calling people, checking emails. For whatever reason, I dread checking emails.
Mm.
And I'm fortunate enough to have somebody that can do that for me. And I'm not necessary to do those. It's not necessary that I do those things. Somebody
Yeah.
else can do it for me. And so
Yeah, I
that,
think that maybe that's like it's a good signal. It's like you're trying to decipher whether something is like a check for you that says this isn't something that I want to do to the whole thing, or if it's like, is this something I can outsource? Like
right.
if I'm not doing this one thing that I hate about my business, do I go back to loving my life again? And I did that thing that you recommended, the love and hate list. Like, what do you love
Mhm.
about this business? What do you hate about it? And I think maybe a way to utilize that in this instance is if there are so many things stacking up on the hate side, it's like if there's like a huge percentage of the things in your business that are on the hate side that you're going to have to be involved in until you like completely step away from the business and somebody else is operating it, maybe that's not the business for you, right? It's like you make this list of things that you love and hate. If there's like three things over there on the hate side and everything else is on love, pay somebody to do those three things. It's
And if those are things you can hand off. So like
yes,
if I hate teaching and coaching and helping people with their marketing, like that's not really, that's my brand.
that's a problem. Yeah,
That's my business,
yeah,
is me helping people. So yeah, that's a problem. Now I don't like one-on-one coaching as much as I like the group coaching. So I can make that decision, right? So I can say I like this part of it, but not this part of it. And I
yep,
actually do love the one-on-one. It's just that it just goes on forever. It
yeah.
goes on so long that I'm like, haven't we like talked about everything yet? I like the more like they come in, I answer the question, solve the problem, they go back and they work on it, and then at another group call we can talk about it again, right?
I think
Uh,
the thing there
and I
is like the one-on-one calls. Now you have somebody to split them with, so it's like maybe it won't feel quite as much of a drag. We can both
but
take some of those group one-on-one
right, and I'll
calls.
tell you the other thing I don't like about the one-on-one though, and it goes back to some of what you've talked about with the agency,
Mm,
that there's a lot of pressure to perform with a
yeah,
one-on-one. There's
yep,
a lot of pressure that my advice has to work, and I still don't have control on how they take action on that advice.
yep,
I There's a lot of things that are outside of my control, and I feel that much more responsible for the results when it's a one-on-one. And I think justly so. They're paying me a lot of money to give one-on-one advice.
mm,
And I feel really good about the help that I'm giving them. But it's the difference of expectation. If you're part of a group call, then you're gleaning information, applying it, and the results are on you. When it's one-on-one, it feels more like your results are my responsibility, and I
mm,
feel that way. I feel like when I get really invested in somebody's business, I really, really take responsibility for the results that are happening in that business, even though I'm not the one actually acting on it.
yep,
So it can feel very stressful for me to get on those calls and be worried about them saying, hey, I did this thing and nothing worked and none of
mm,
this is working. And, I paid you. Like, I'm so scared of them saying, I paid you all this money and where are my results? And I'm like,
yep.
we're getting there, but you've got to do the things that I tell
You
you
have to
you
do
got to
your
do in
part.
order to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It's
all of this
hard.
is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah,
There's very few times where there are things little, like I like to call them little hinges that swing big doors.
mm,
But a lot of this is long term, setting a foundation up for your business so you can do that long term growth over time.
yep,
It's less of a. I mean, there are definitely tricks we can do to get you sales really quick, but we can't repeat that over. 9-word email. You can't send that every day.
yep,
I mean, you can, but you can't to your entire list, right?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
there are long-term strategies that we need to do that fill in all those gaps between those like pops of sales.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything to me now, it's like we're very similar as far as how the things that stress us out, and anything to me that is directly results based on the effort that I'm putting in is very stressful for me. Like it's like and the other side of that coin though is like I don't trust handing over pieces and parts of a system to somebody else to make them successful. So if I'm gonna do an agency, it's like almost has to be all or nothing, because I
Hmm.
don't trust whoever the client is to like handle certain pieces that if they drop the ball, it's not going to work out. So it
Right.
seems like to me,
And so you're
and then
bringing more on yourself, and then you're
yeah,
stressing out even more about
yeah,
all of it. Yes.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you got to like manage people, and like I don't want to do that either. I don't want like a team of people to have to manage. And yep, so it's like everything is pointing to like I don't really want an agency, and that's why I'm not following up with the leads. And I think the one liner there that you said is really powerful. It's like you're not doing the things that you should be doing because you shouldn't have been doing them in the first place. Like
Yeah.
that's, put that on a shirt, put it on a mug.
That's a good one for a mug or a
Yeah,
sign or something like that. But
yeah,
sometimes, okay, so let's talk about the things that people don't do because it feels like a chore, right?
yeah,
And I talked about that with social media. It feels like a chore. I can do it. I don't dread doing it. I have the ability to do it. I have the time to do it. But when it comes to it, I'm like, and I'll put emails in there as well. For some
yeah,
reason, I got my all my list marked off here for what I was supposed to do today. The two things that I didn't do today, both of them involve sending an email.
yeah,
And so, why am I not sending emails when I know I need to be sending emails? So this is where I'm going to get vulnerable, because I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think I feel like I should be a better writer than what I am. I've always so I understand copywriting, and I think I am a fair copywriter. I've written some really great copy. I've had it looked at by professional copywriters that they're like, this is solid, good copy. There's no reason why this shouldn't work. Um, and then I approach email as if it's a sales letter. Like I want to put the same amount of effort into that email as what I do a sales letter. Now, for some reason, I can write a Facebook post and not feel quite the same amount of overwhelm. But when I go to write an email, it's like a different medium, and I feel like I need to approach it differently. And I do, sometimes I can reuse a post as an email, but sometimes I can't. Like the screenshot that I shared, as a Facebook post today, doesn't make sense on its own as an email. So I have to add things, and I just get stuck. I don't dread it. I look at it and I think, I don't know where to start. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm not good at wording it correctly. And so I think that's why I avoid it. I feel like that is what smart marketers do, and they seem to do it so, like, from my perspective, they're doing it so easily, and I'm going there and I'm opening up the page and I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I feel like I don't even know how to start this email, let alone how I'm going to finish this email.
sure,
So sometimes I'll often start in the middle, because I get so stuck on that beginning part that I just start in the middle. And then I stare at that beginning part for forever. Like, how do I intro what I'm saying in a clever way, and how I see all of these other, I don't want to be, Ryan, our friend Ryan, writes really good emails, but I'm not Ryan. Caleb O'Dowd writes fantastic emails. Frank Kern writes fantastic, but I'm not them, right? And the way that I talk isn't the way that they talk. So trying to find a way to make it my own, that this is how I talk and how to actually get that into text form. I've mentioned this on the call with Ryan several times that, like, I really am not, I feel like I'm not good at writing emails, and that's very frustrating to me. Like, it's a skill I want to do, I want to get better at, I want to be a better writer in general. But, when I do my list, the last thing that's left there, the thing I know makes me the most money, sending emails, and I don't do it.
sure.
So fix it
So
for me, Duncan.
I'll fix it. I'll fix
So
it for
tell
you.
me what I should do.
I'll tell you exactly what you should do. There's a couple things. So I think that maybe I'm gonna do one of my classic Duncan compliment sandwiches here for you.
You're very good at those.
So you are one of the most objective, rational, logical, well thought out people I've ever met. So
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you.
that. Yeah, thank you for bringing me into your world and sharing that with me. I think that in this instance, that's probably your downfall, right? So you are going in and looking at your email copywriting in the landscape and through the lens of knowing all these incredible copywriters and seeing all these amazing emails that you get, like you named some like the top, you know, three email marketing
Right. Yeah.
copywriters ever, and it's like you're looking at yourself through this lens of how they do what they do and comparing yourself to them. So I think that that's step number one, is like realizing that that's not a realistic. It's not realistic to judge your copy based on their copy. It's like you said, they're different. Their voices are different. Their style is different. And you are an amazing copywriter. But if you look at somebody else that's also an amazing copywriter that you maybe even have up on a pedestal a little bit because you've learned from them and you've pulled inspiration from them, it can make you feel like you're not as good as you actually are. So what I'm
Mm.
saying is, compliment sandwich on the beginning, logical, rational, objective, well thought out, but it's holding you back because you're comparing yourself to other people because you see the full picture and you're like, I'm not as good as these guys.
Mm.
But the thing that it does is it convinces you that you're not as good as you actually are, because I think you're a phenomenal writer. I really do. And like you just need to see it. So that's probably the first thing. That's like the other end of the bread on the compliment sandwich there for you.
Well, and
The
we've had that discussion before where you wrote something and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that you said, "Oh, I'm not sure if that was any good." And I'm like, "That was really good." In fact, I read it and I was like mad at myself that I couldn't write something like that. And
yeah.
you were like, "No, like what you're writing is really good." And I'm mad at myself for not
Mm.
writing like that. And that was just like that moment of like we can both see it in each other and it's harder to see in our own stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yeah. I was going to point to the second point here, is that there's a few sayings that you use. I'm trying to remember. It's hard to you can't read the label from inside the
Yeah,
bottle.
yeah, yeah.
That's one of
When you're
them. It's
inside
like,
the jar, you can't read the label. Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's a huge one. It's like you're sitting there trying to write your email and you're like looking you're looking at it from inside the jar.
Yes.
Anybody else that sees this email, it's going to have the desired effect that you're trying to have on people. And the reason that you can't see it is because you're in it trying to write it right now. It's like
I'm
write it.
trying to write the perfect email.
Yeah, there's no such thing. Yeah,
Right.
it's like there is no box, right? Like just
Yep.
write it. And one of the things that helps me, it's like a mindset shift, but it's more of an environment shift. So like you've said it before, when you open up your Facebook post thing, like it's go time and you're there to write your Facebook post. So one of the things I'll do if I'm having a hard time there, wherever I'm writing the thing, it's like I can't write it here because I'm feeling this thing here. This
Mm.
feeling is attached to the place. It's attached to
Hmm.
the email marketing software. It's attached to wherever I'm writing it. So I need to go somewhere else. I need to write in my notebook. I need to write in ChatGPT. I need to go somewhere else to get out of the frame of mind that this thing is putting me in. Because you can attach more meaning to a place than is actually there. So that would be my second piece of advice if I were to give some unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Unsolicited advice.
No, it was totally solicited.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, I think, but that's I think what for me, and I think what other people struggle with as well, because I recognize that struggle with other people with social media.
Yeah.
And you and I had that conversation about you posting to Marketing Ping Pong, the Facebook group. I'm
Mm,
like, just post. Like to me, that's easy. Like just post. Just
yeah.
make a post, Duncan. Just make a post, Duncan.
Yep.
But there's this feeling of I want to do it right, right?
Yeah.
And that's where like the perfectionism and that feeling of gotta do it right. So I'm gonna wait until I'm doing it right before I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that backwards, and I teach and I say this to my clients all the time that you can't get better by not doing.
Yep.
Like you literally can't get better by not doing it. People say, well, I'm not doing that right now because I'm not really good at that. Okay, well,
Yeah,
how do
you're
you get
never going to
better?
get good at it.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're never going to get better unless you do it. And that's why I put it on my page every day to do. I need to go in there and I need to write an email because I want to be better at it, right?
Yep. Yep.
I want it to be effortless. I want to, our friend Ryan, I just love how we'll be chatting and he goes, "Ooh, that's an email." And I'm like, "Dang it, how do you know to find those moments, you
Yeah,
know?"
yeah, yeah. That's the
And
training your brain thing too, right? Like we were just talking about how now I'm trying to get in the frame of mind of seeing marketing everywhere. It's like I
mhm,
usually try to tune it out because it's something that I do all day and think about all day already. So I become a little bit numb to it out in the world, but it's one of the easiest ways to, I guess, get in the frame of mind of producing more content is to train your brain to see that kind of content everywhere. Because content is everything is content. We say that to people
yep,
all the time.
everything is content.
Everything is content, and that it's turtles all the way down, right? That it's that, but everything. Everything is email content. Everything is a video. Everything is a photo. Everything is a Facebook post, and like training yourself to think in those terms and see those things everywhere, I think is a winning strategy for sure.
Yes, and I think that's definitely a skill. Ryan will come on the call and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just took that Taylor Swift song and I made an email out of it."
Yep, yep.
And I'm like, how he does that with songs a lot. And I'm like, and again, it's like training yourself, listening to a song with the intent of not just recognizing the meaning of the song, but how you can then attach that to a message of some kind.
Yep.
Even if it's just like inspirational or something like that. And I get so frustrated because again, I see how effortless Ryan does it. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying so hard. I always say that writing copy is like giving birth. Like it's a long, slow, difficult process.
Yep.
You end up with a baby at the end, but it's a process to get a long,
Yeah.
painful process to
So
get
so
there.
let's do a thought experiment. Right there you said you said trying so hard. It's like don't try so hard. That's an email. That's like a subject line, right? Selling your products, selling your handmade products doesn't have to be like giving birth. It's like it's everywhere.
Yes.
Everything is content. And like
Dang on you, Duncan. You're gone and done it.
I think it's like it's that frame of mind thing, right? So like you
Mhm.
just you say right now in the context of this conversation that we're having, I'm going to look for this, right? So it's being intentional with your thinking time, even though you're not sitting down to do thinking time. It's like this is
Right.
where my brain is today, and saying just having that in the back of your mind all day, so that anything that comes at you, you're like, where is the email in this? Is
Mhm.
probably a good way to do it, and then just make Monday's email day. Like I'm gonna walk around in my life today, and I'm just gonna look for email in everything. That might be a
Yeah.
cool thought experiment. But
Yeah. No, I like
yeah.
that. And again, it's a lot of it is just kind of letting go and just doing,
Yep. Hmm.
and letting go of the and I feel like I've done pretty well as far as letting go of the result.
Yep.
Like I'll send things out with typos in it. I'll send things out that get absolutely no response. I'll send other things that get a fantastic response. And I just try to learn and move forward. But yeah, that perfectionism it's definitely holding me back, even though I preach on it. Like my clients will tell you that I'm always saying, like, just do it, 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 just do it. I don't
Yeah.
know how to go Facebook Live. I'm not comfortable with just do it, just do it, just do it anyways.
Just do it.
And I'm sitting here like, but I don't. I will wait till the end of the day to do
Well,
it.
I feel like I feel like the thing at the root of all of this is when we did I don't remember what episode it was, but it was like you're carrying your little egg. It's like your business,
Yes,
and you don't want to drop it and
treating your
crack it,
business like an egg.
right? And it's like you're I think the analogy here is like for a small business owner that doesn't have like the multiple levels of marketing knowledge that we're speaking from here, it's like their business is everything. It's like my
Mhm.
business is the thing that pays for my lifestyle. It supports my family. It allows me to give back to my community. I support all my employees. It's like the business is the egg. I feel like for you, and I, like, understanding that marketing is really where our money comes from and where the
Mhm.
business, like the lifeblood of the business, comes from. It's like our marketing is our egg. It's not the business, because like we could go start
Sure.
any business tomorrow,
Sure. Yeah.
and like we could get clients. So literally have done that.
I think that what you're saying is absolutely right. That like for me, it's not so much like my list. I have no problem sending lots of emails to my list.
Yeah.
I've sent over 30 emails to my list in the month of January, made a lot of money, have no problem with that.
Yep.
I think my egg is like the view of myself as a marketer and copywriter,
Sure.
right? It's my ego, for lack of better word. It's
It's
and it's not
egg
like I
is
have a
like
big
so
ego or
close.
anything, but it's like if I can't do this, I'm
Yeah.
not a good marketer, I'm not a good copywriter,
Yes.
right? And so if when I struggle with it, that feeds in like, oh, why do I suck at this and why can't I be better at this? And so I'm attaching some personal worth to my ability to do it.
Yep.
And so if I just don't do it, I don't have to feel that uncomfortable feeling of not feeling like I'm matching up to where I think I should be,
Yeah.
right? And it's actually been a big shift that I've experienced recently, because as after meeting you, honestly, and it's been for years and years and years, I have been looking for coaches and gurus and somebody to take me to the mountaintop, right?
Sure.
Somebody that can take me to the mountaintop. And I've never, I've had clients, but when I met you and you're like, oh, you're asking me advice and marketing, right? And you're asking me advice. There was this moment not that long ago that I realized, like, am I taking, am I leading Duncan to the mountaintop? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I finally had this shift, like, wait a minute, I'm the guru.
Yep.
And again, not in an ego sort of way, but it allowed me to kind of accept the fact that after 20 years, I actually know what I'm talking about. And it allows me to drop that self-doubt that I always need somebody else to show me and somebody else to take me there.
Yeah.
I always looked up to Mike McGrory, of course, and Claude and Dan Cricks and Dan Kennedy and all of these guys that Caleb O'Dowd, all these guys that helped me get to where I needed to be. And I more recently would get more and more frustrated, like they're not giving me that secret that I'm looking for. And I realized that I don't need the secret
There
anymore.
is no spoon.
There is no
Yeah.
secret. I've
Yeah.
already figured it out. Yeah, different people have tried different things.
Mm.
And I'd like to learn those other things that they've tried. This is how we learn from each other. But yeah, I just kind of had that realization that, like, no, that's where I'm at now, and it's a very weird position to be in. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of the new me that I'm trying to step into. And that's how I need to even approach these emails, that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what I'm doing.
It's
I just
even more
gotta.
interesting because like you're already in that role, but it's like the perception of you're already in the role of coach, guru, teacher,
Mhm.
but it's for people in a different niche that don't have any exposure really to
Right,
marketing. So like within realizing that you're that within your own community, that's like a
right,
perception shift. Yeah.
right.
And like
Yes.
I'll be real with you, like you're my mentor. Even though we're peers, like I look up to you to for advice and for guidance, and you gotta just take your own advice and be the shark, Allie.
Yep, be the shark. Just got to be the shark. So I would say, yes, that's the lesson I need to learn. But I think that's what I hope everybody gets that from this,
Hmm.
that you do need to be willing to break the egg. And it's a scary thing to do. And if you can do it at least in little things like sending emails, you know, um, for me, the fear is not sending the email, it's writing the email. Like I have no problem sending what I've written. It's just the process of writing. But we all have like these kind of sacred cows and these things that we believe that we shouldn't, that we need to do it perfectly. If we're going to do it, we need to do it perfectly. And there's no way to do it perfectly. Perfect doesn't exist. You just need to do it. You just need to do it and you get better. you can't help but get better. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you learn about it, the more you study. And I think that's an important part of it. Like, people can send crappy emails every single day and not learn a daggone thing
Yeah.
because they are not learning what it actually takes. They're not learning from their own results. That's another thing.
Mm.
But I wrote down some things while your camera was malfunctioning that you said some things that I was like, this is this is also why people don't get things done.
Mm.
Because as you were saying, like, oh, I have too many cords and that sort of thing, I felt kind of like that visceral of just everything being cluttered and there being too much. So too many things and too much clutter.
I'm laughing because if you could see the floor behind my camera right now, it is like I knocked over a box of 1,000 business cards and they're just like scattered all over the ground. And like that was on top of a box full of cables and like sticky notes. So there's like, it's like literally a path made out of business cards and cables right behind my camera. So like, I get it. I'm on board.
Yes, too many things and too much clutter. So, one thing, too many things means too many things that you feel you need to do. And so, when you put too many things on your plate, so I used to make really long to-do lists every single day
Mm.
because I'm like, these are all the things that everybody's telling me I need to do to be successful. So I need to do all of them. And then I wouldn't get it done
Yep.
because it was too many things and I needed to drop things. So I think it's about also getting really, really clear on what are the most important things you need to do. What are the things that move? So my to-do list today, my to-do list every day is the things I need to do that I know moves my business forward. There's nothing else on the to-do list for that day except things that I know I need to do to move myself forward. And then I'll add things like call with Duncan and publish the podcast. Like those are things that are, oh gosh, I can't think of the right word, but those are just activities I need to do in my business, right? They're not getting me more business necessarily. It's just it's a thing we've got to do. We record a podcast, we got to publish a podcast, right?
Yep.
But sending the emails, posting to social media, creating reels are things I need to do in order to grow my business, in order to build that know, like, and trust, and all of the things. I know those things work for my business.
Yep.
So I've made a shorter list and remove things that aren't moving me forward. And either I just drop them or I hand them off.
Yep.
And I heard this years ago, and it was not in a business context, but I like applying it to business. I heard years ago about, like, if you're juggling, right? You know about juggling, allegedly. I've heard, I've not seen any proof.
That hurts me.
I
I'm an
know.
expert juggler and I pride myself on it. It is my whole identity. So we're going to have to.
I believe you, but I'm still going to need some proof.
Okay.
So if you're juggling crystal balls, rubber balls, and iron balls, right? So that's the kind of the analogy here. The crystal balls are the things that are absolutely important, like family. My family, my kids, those are things that are really, really, really important to me. Also, like making money, my business, very, very important. If I don't have that, I don't have income. That's very, very important. So when you're juggling and you're juggling too many things, you can't drop the crystal balls because they'll break, and that's harmful. There are some things you can drop that you will not miss. You drop the iron balls, they go down, you have less to juggle. Those are things you can just let go of because they're not important and they're not going to break when you drop them. They're just going to drop, and you don't need to, nothing gets hurt by dropping it. And then there's the rubber balls, things that you can drop and they'll come back up when you're ready for them. So I think a lot of people put too many things on their plate at the beginning. You know, I get in with my clients, a lot of them come in and say, okay, I got to do the social media. I have to build a website. I have to be on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And they're trying to do, I got to get my photos done. I need to get a logo done. I need to do all the things, write blogs. And I say, stop. A lot of these things are metal balls you can just drop. You don't need them at all. And then others are ones you can let go for now and they'll come back later. So, you know, like having a website right away for a handmade business, you don't need a website right away. You need to test your product in the marketplace. And so I think a lot of people, we talked about the reason you're not doing the thing you should be doing is because you probably shouldn't be doing it. I think
Yep.
this applies to that too. It's not that you shouldn't ever be doing it. It's just you might not need to be doing it right now.
You're not ready for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not ready for it. And you're trying to do all of the things on top of each other, and it's overwhelming and it's big. And so you'll end up dropping things that are more important in order to do the things you've convinced yourself. Anytime I hear somebody say, well, I'm just about ready, but I got to get my website done, or I'm just
Mm,
about ready, but I'm working on a logo or a tagline. And
yep.
I know they're not doing the things they need to be doing to move their business forward. They're using those other things as a procrastination
Yep.
to not really step into their business the way that they need to, because there's some sort of fear or something that's holding them back. So they're
Yep.
finding busy work that they've convinced themselves they need to be doing that's not actually getting you where you need to be.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. I see that a lot where it's like, you'll when you know a lot about marketing, people will come to you and ask you a lot of things. It's like
Mhm.
they hear that and they're like, oh, I need help with this, I need help with this, I need help with my website, help with the logo. And it's all, you hear those things, and it's almost like an instant signal that, oh, they're not quite there. It's like you
Mhm.
can hear them procrastinating in real time in front of you.
Yep. Yep.
And it's an interesting experience. And like, I don't know, you know, I don't know how you get people out of that, right? It's like you can tell them, but it's almost like it's almost like therapy, right? You can't just
It
tell
is.
somebody how
Yeah.
to how to be and expect them to do it. So you have to help them come to that realization on their own sometimes, or
Yes.
else they won't really get it. Um, so another reason why I really like what we're doing, because I feel like that's what this is, right? We're trying to show people through, by example, or through examples of other people, and through education and
Mhm.
coaching and training. And I think that's really powerful. So good
And
job,
help
Allie.
them to be introspective,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's
Help them
really,
help themselves. Yep.
yes, exactly. To look at themselves and say, do I need to do this, or have I been convinced that this is something I need to do without any good evidence to it?
Yep.
And I tell a handmade seller, you don't need a website. There's a couple of responses. One is like, what do you mean I don't need a website? How do I make a sale? Well, you can make a sale like this. And it takes them a while to wrap their head around it. And others, they just feel this relief.
Yep.
Oh, thank God. And for some reason, they think they need my permission to not do it. Like, okay, you're saying I don't need to do this. I'm not going to do that. And this retreat that I had last week, it came up a lot about like what people knew they needed to be doing that they weren't doing. And when I was having the one-on-ones, I told them, I'm like, drop this expectation that you're going to get all this done. 'Cause, they've told me about their family life, they've told me what their schedule is like, and they simply don't have the time.
Mm,
And I say, here, let's break it down to the bare minimum. These are things that are going to get you sales and get you moving forward. These other things are nice to have and are going to help you build even more. But if you only have time for a handful of activities to do, these are the important ones. Let the other ones drop, because your
yep.
mental health, because otherwise you're so overwhelmed of all the things you're not doing any of them.
Yep.
So just let some of them go, be okay, let them drop. They're going to bounce back. You can jump right back onto that. If your situation changes, you can jump right back into it again.
100%. I've even seen some people talk about it like if they have a really hard time, if you're working with somebody, or if you yourself are having a really hard time focusing and doing the things that really matter, say, what's the one thing? What is the one? If I can only do one thing today to move my business forward, what is the biggest thing? And like sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you have so many things on your plate as a business owner, you have to take it back to the very beginning, the very most basic, the largest impact thing that you can do, and say,
Yep.
and start there, right? It's like do the
Yep.
one thing. And then if you did that, say, great, I did the one thing, and move on to the next one. If you get that one thing done in that day.
Right.
It's like
Right.
yeah, got to give yourself, you have to also be able to feel the I don't know, the positive feelings when you get that thing done, right? A lot of business owners get into this like trap of not getting anything done because they have that huge list, and then the only feelings that they're associating with their business are negativity and anxiety, because they're trying and trying to get all these things done. And it's like, it seems like an insurmountable task, because they have this ever growing list that gets bigger and bigger
Mhm.
every day. And it's like, all that's doing is setting yourself up to get burnt out and to not enjoy your business. So like, take it
Yeah.
back down to basics, learn and practice feeling, um, feeling proud of yourself for accomplishing things. Start with one thing, and like, if you, and realize too, like, if you haven't been accomplishing that one thing or anything really, and you haven't been giving yourself permission to feel that pride and that positivity, it might not happen the first time, right? It's like, you have to actually practice feeling those feelings. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that if you're in that position where you're looking at the long list, you've got to see what can you delegate, what can you completely drop, and what is not really important right now. What can you kind of let go right now and just focus on the things that are going to move the needle. And yeah, and feeling that, and that's the other thing we've talked a little bit about, like tracking and knowing where your business comes from. That helps you prioritize. If
Yep.
you actually know the things that move the needle, like I know my social media posts move the needle for me, I know my emails move the needle for me, so I know what to prioritize. Right, I know what to put at the top because I'm more aware of those things.
Mm.
And before we started this call, I was talking about, at the retreat, the that I just hosted, the talk of guilt came up a lot. And feeling of there's this feeling of I know I should do all the things, and I'm feeling guilty that I'm not getting them done. And what I said to them at the time was like, I don't understand the feeling of guilt when it comes to business, because there's no business god that's looking at you and saying you sinned. You know what I mean? It's much more of you have a goal for yourself, and you know what you need to do to get there, or you're learning what you need to do to get there. And you're either taking the action or you're not. And if you didn't take those actions today, it's not anything to feel guilty about. Sometimes you got to drop a ball, right? Sometimes a ball drops, but those balls bounce right back. If I don't send these emails today, guess what? It's on the list for tomorrow. I get to pick that ball back up, and I get to another chance at being consistent with this, right?
Yeah.
So, like, having some grace towards yourself, that none of us are super people. None of us are perfect business people. Nobody is born good at this. Nobody's born good at marketing. Nobody's born good at business. Nobody's born I mean, I guess there are people that are perfectly organized. I don't believe it, but like, some people are better organized than others.
Mm.
But we're all bringing our mess. And I've
Yep.
heard like, oh, this thing happened with my mom and this thing happened, and I just feel so bad I haven't been able to work on my business. And I'm like, but your mom passed away and your house burnt down. And like, this happened to one woman just last year in the group. And she's like, I've been feeling guilty that I haven't kept up with my business after her house burnt down and her mom passed away, and now living in tight quarters while they're waiting for a new house to be built. She's still not into a house yet,
Mm.
and all of her stock burnt down with it. Like, she lost everything,
Mm.
and she's feeling guilty that she was not where she wants to be in her business. Like,
Wow.
that's, you've got to have grace towards yourself
Yep.
too,
Yep.
and just realize that we're all human and things happen, and it doesn't mean that you're good or bad, or there's no judgment attached to any of it. There's do or do not, right? You either do or do not. And if you do not, and you know that's something that you should do in order to get to where you want to be, then you start prioritizing it and you find ways and solutions for you to actually follow it through.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I could not have said it better myself. In fact, I won't. I won't even try.
Oh, okay. So then the last thing I want to talk about is, well, I mentioned like too much clutter. I know for me, if my space is cluttered, if my house is cluttered, my space is cluttered, I have a hard time getting things done. So I
Yep.
just wanted to mention that too, that like sometimes your environment matters a lot.
Yep.
Um, but then I also want to put out that if you know you need to do something and you feel like it's a chore, look for tools. So AI has helped a lot. I've written a lot more emails because of AI. It
Mm.
does help me generate the ideas, and actually write my ideas as Frank Kern. So I can see how would Frank Kern write it, but then I put my own voice to it. I have my book is a tool, right? I this goes with me everywhere. I write down my list. I know what I need to do each day. This is I can reference back to the other things I did. I don't lose it. I don't have 6 different books that I'm writing in, just this one book.
Yep.
So finding tools, calendars, etc., that whatever helps you. For me, I was not able to say like between 9 and 10 I'm doing X. Like that doesn't that feels like pressure. I don't like being told what to do,
Yep.
which
Even by
means I don't
yourself.
like, yeah, I don't like me telling me what to do.
Yep.
So I'm like, don't tell me what I have to do between 9 and 10. Who are
Yeah.
you to tell
I am
me what I'm
I
supposed to
am
be doing?
so much the same. I'm like, no, no, I can't believe you even put that down on the schedule for yourself. I'm not doing that. Yeah.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. And so these are the things that I'm like, okay, but it is important for me to move my business forward. As long as I do these things, whenever, what time of day it needs to be. Because, like, for some reason, saying between 9 and 10, I'm going to do this, I fight against it. But just having the list of things to do, okay, these are the list of things I decided that I need to do on no schedule whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that works for me. So, again, just finding ways to work with yourself and your own personality and your own brain. And it's taken me years to figure out a simple list like this in a book.
Yeah.
Like that took me years because I kept trying scheduling software and to-do lists online and all of these things. And, it turns out analog was the best thing for me. And I still do use digital tools as well.
Yeah.
So that can help you make the thing that you should be doing, but you're not doing, make it feel easier to do it when you have simple tools that can
Yeah, and
help
I
you.
think the same thing, um, the same thing that makes that easier, the tools thing makes your life easier, can be said for leveraging employees, right? So
Yes.
outsourcing, like we were talking about earlier, it's the same mentality, right? It's like hiring little employees in your business that do a thing or make a job 10 times easier. Is the same. It's the same mentality as hiring an actual employee. It
Hmm.
gives you that same. It gives you that same relief, right? When I go into ChatGPT and I get something that would have taken me all day done in an hour, maybe it's like,
Hmm.
oh wow, that's such a huge burden off my shoulders, and it feels the same as giving someone else a task that I know they're going to accomplish it without me having to like be on top of them to make sure that
Sure.
they do it correctly. Gives me the same feeling. So
Yep. Yep. Agree. And that's what, like, I had a really hard time doing reels for a long time. And then I found Content Groove.
yep,
Content Groove just made everything easier. Thank you, Duncan. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. But I was trying to do it on Canva, and I could do it on Canva, but it was a big chore. It took a lot of time. I was starting to dread it. Like, I've got to watch this whole video all over again just to find the clips. And then Content Groove is like, we'll find some clips for you and we'll give you a transcript. So something that was a chore, I can now create a reel in like less than 2 minutes.
yep,
I go in there, I find a clip. Oh, that clip is pretty good. I'm going to actually make it a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. I like this part of it. Save it. It takes longer for it to save and download than it takes for me to create the clip itself.
yep, yep,
And then I go through and I have all my websites open. So I use my task bars to save things. I use a program called Toby. Like once a month, I do my Prompts for Profits calendar for my handmade clients. And I use Toby to open up all the windows at the same time that I need. Because I recognize what was holding me back was I always had to go and look for where is the file, open the file, then I
yep,
need this website and I need to reference that website and then I need that website. And I was spending all this time trying to open it all up when I could save it in one place with Toby and just say, all right, we're working on the PFP, open up all the PFP stuff, and my tabs are full of everything that I need.
Yeah, that's
So
such a
yeah,
great
the
tool.
tools are great.
Yep. Yep. Love it.
Absolutely. All right. So let's go on the last subject of the night that I feel like dovetails very nicely into what we were just talking about. I was watching, I love TikTok, and I am on the feminist side of TikTok. So I hear a lot of things that have helped me kind of realize, like in society and in marriages and expectations and, kind of those things that you don't realize are affecting your mental health or how you view things, and just to be exposed to them. So I was listening to TikTok and I heard somebody say, like, I never listened to male business owners. And I'm like, well, that was a weird thing to say. And she said, because, or I don't listen to their advice. She said, I will listen to them, and I take it all with a grain of salt. And I don't overall trust their advice. And she said something that I had struggled with for years and years and years. And we could take this beyond, just that this applies to women. I think this applies to a lot of people in general. But I realized that, when I was trying to learn how to do marketing and how to do business um, what it takes to succeed, pretty much everybody I was learning from was a man. This industry, the marketing industry, is by far mostly male dominated, especially the more successful ones. And so, you read the books of time management and, the hustle, and you got to grind and you got to work 24/7 to make the dream happen. Um, and what I never took into account was that I wasn't a man. And the difference being that I was married and had 3 kids, while I was also listening to advice from men, often single men. But if they weren't single men, they had a wife at home that was taking care of the kids and the home and all of those things. So they were able to work the hours that they needed to succeed. And I think that, again, it's not just about like being a woman, it's about any of this business advice that doesn't match the life that you actually live. I can't walk away from my kids, right? I can't say, oh, I want a successful business, so I have to work 24/7, which means I'm just going to leave my kids and go off and do something else. I can't do that. And so I had a lot of judgment of myself, I would say, for many, many years, that I was less than, or I was broken somehow, or I wasn't capable of having the success that I wanted to have in my life, because look at these other guys and they're doing it when they're young. And I didn't accomplish it when I was young. And now I'm in my 40s, I'm 45, and things are happening for me. And guess what the magical difference is? I'm no longer raising little kids. I'm no longer taking care of the bulk chores of the house, because whether we like it or not, that's put on the woman 9 times out of 10. That's just culturally and traditionally what we do in this country. And so I feel like there's definitely going to be, because most of my clients in the handmade business, with the handmade businesses, 99% of them are female. The one guy there's a couple of guys here, but the one guy I've got is single and was able to do everything on his own. He's got a girlfriend now, so good for him. But what I realize is that, when we talk about the guilt, we just talked about like guilt that people weren't doing what that they thought they should be doing. There is this unrealistic expectation that all entrepreneurs should be doing, that all entrepreneurs are capable of doing the same things in their business. And therefore, if they're not successful, it's their own fault. And it's weird because it is their fault. It is their fault. It is a reflection of how much they've been able to put into the business, but they're kind of already coming in at a deficit of time, a deficit of attention, a deficit of energy. They're already being split. We talk about splitting attention, right? they are being split between a husband, a house, kids, and a business. And if they're working on top of it because they need to be a dual income household. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think there is a lot of judgment that people put on themselves that they're not able to match these unrealistic expectations that business coaches and gurus put out there. And I'm sure I do it to my people too. Hey, you need to be posting every day. You need to be going live once a week. And that works for my retired clients. And then my clients that still have kids at home, and especially young kids, they're not even in preschool or daycare or school yet. Not to have that same expectation of them, because I've been there. It's really, really hard. Like, I barely remember Clary as a baby. I just, like, I know I had a baby and they were so good that I just put myself into my business. But I wasn't able to be super successful at any one of the things I was doing because I was spreading myself thin. So, thoughts, what do you think?
Well, I am in one of those situations like happened already in this episode where I feel like you hit the nail on the head, and I think maybe one of the things I can add, though there are not many because I agree with you wholeheartedly, is a little bit of that from my perspective. So as a
Mm-hmm.
guy, I think that maybe I feel a little bit of the same when I see some of these influencers, because it's the same feeling. It's like, oh, I'm not where I want to be because I'm not able to do
Mm-hmm.
as much as you are, or I'm not willing to, work 80 hours a week or whatever. And um, it's like the idea of success that's projected to me doesn't align with the lifestyle that I want to have. Like,
Sure.
I don't want to work more. I don't want to work and grind and hustle uh, to have everything that I want in the next 6 months. Like, I'm willing to work less for a longer period of time to achieve my goals. And I'm affected by that content in a similar way. It's like, I see it and I'm like, oh, maybe I really should work that extra however many hours, or maybe it really is my fault that I'm not where I could be. Though it is, like you said, I
Right.
like that point. Like,
It is your responsibility to fulfill your own dreams,
yes, yeah,
but it's not a judgment that
yeah.
you haven't
It's
gotten there.
it's the problem of it's the problem with pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? It's like not everybody's bootstraps are the same length, right? It's like
Some
not
people don't have
everybody, yeah,
bootstraps.
some people
Yeah.
don't have boots, right? It's like
Right.
not everybody starts from the same place or has the same set of skills or energy. That's oftentimes my problem. Like, I don't know. I talked to my friend and business partner Benjamin, and like he's just like go go go. He'll call me at 9 at night and be working on something after he's worked all day, and I'll get a Facebook message from him at 2 a.m. like, hey man, I ran into this thing. What do you think about it? I'm like, how are you still going? And it's like
Hmm.
I just literally don't have that. I can't spend that much
Same.
of my energy on something. And that's just a difference of, I think, biology, genetics, whatever it is. Like, I just don't have it. And um, knowing that about myself, seeing some of this content, and even seeing things like him doing that, it's like, oh, should I be like that? You compare
Mhm.
yourself to other people and where they are in life, and hold yourself to the same standard of somebody that has a different set of tools than you, right? Has a different set
Yes.
of circumstances than you. And I think it's a similar thing to what you're talking about of listening to, guy marketing influencers when you're a woman with kids. It's like they're in a completely different situation,
Hmm.
completely different set of circumstances, and there's no, comparison is the thief of joy. It's like there's
Sure.
nothing good that's going to come out of um, measuring your success by their standards. And I think that's the same for everybody. It's like you shouldn't look to people as um, a barometer of success if their lifestyle doesn't match what yours the lifestyle that you want to have, or the life that you're living
Right.
right now.
Or the life that you're living now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, the not just marketing, business space in general is definitely more male dominated because the especially younger men more than younger women, although there are more and more younger women not getting married and having kids right away, so they tend to be in a bit more that free lifestyle. But there was a bias there that I didn't even realize, that the reason these guys could write these books is because they had somebody taking care of the home, they had somebody feeding them, they had somebody taking care of their
Yeah.
kids.
Hmm.
And then when you look at, and I know one of our subjects for a later time is like the bro marketers. There's that Alex, what is his last name? Um, he sold a bunch of stuff and now he does I don't know, he has a YouTube channel. He literally has an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment that has a mattress on the floor, a desk and a chair in the middle of his living room, and then some sort of, I don't know, like hydrotherapy something in the second bedroom. And no food in his refrigerator. He literally walks down to the grocery store. Like, he lives in a high rise. He just goes downstairs and goes and gets himself, something to eat when he's hungry. um and kind of like, and he's telling people like, this is the life. He's not dating. He's like, I'm putting 100%. Him, he has one of those Facebook ad tracking systems or
Sure.
something where it can I can't think of the name of it. I'm sure you've heard of it. But he's like, just 100% in my business because this is what I need to do to succeed. And then, like, as a mom of 3 looking at that, like, how can I have an apartment with 0 things in it and absolutely no distractions and no food in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a feasible lifestyle for most people, but to the extreme, like a mom with 3 kids and, lots of responsibilities. And, I've been lucky enough that we've made decisions for our family, and I say lucky, it is kind of just part of who I am, that we decided to do things different with our family. And that did give me a little bit more room to be able to focus on the business. The business was always important because it gave us the freedom to be with the family. But like, we couldn't ever, I don't want to say we couldn't ever, it was very difficult to scale it up because the family almost put like a ceiling on it,
Sure.
right? Without bringing in other people either to do the business or take care of the kids.
Yep.
And for us, there was a priority that we spend time with our kids. We
Yeah.
never did daycare. We only sent them to school for a couple of years and then we pulled them out of that. And then that was a priority. Um, and a lot of times it is billed as if your business is not your number one priority, then you're not going to be successful. And I do believe it needs to be a priority. If you don't prioritize the business, it needs to be a priority. If it's a priority, like, you need to treat it like a priority if it is a priority.
Yeah.
If it's something you're doing on the side and it's not really that important. I have clients like that. It's not really that important to them. You don't really have to prioritize it. But for us, it was 100% of our income. So,
Yeah. It's your
there's that.
livelihood.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, you do need to prioritize it, but this idea that it needs to be the only and the top priority, and almost like there's kind of a I feel like there's like just this religious analogy you could make to it, that like, if you're not doing enough, you're sinning, but if you are giving it your all, then you will be exalted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that you should feel guilt for not making it to the exalted place. And that's how I felt in my business for a very long time,
Sure.
that I was bad somehow because I couldn't match up to the expectations that these gurus, these leaders, these pseudo religious leaders were saying, like, this is what you have to do in order to be saved, to be good, to be accepted. And I know for me, I put a lot of pressure on myself, especially when I was young. I have to achieve this while I'm young.
Mm.
If I don't achieve this while I'm young, like, everybody's saying like how smart I am and how talented I am. I'm hearing all of this from everybody, and I'm just letting everybody down by not achieving this now. but I was raising 3 kids,
Mm.
and doing all the things that it took to take care of my family. So
It's hard to hear too. Like it's hard to hear that for me in some ways because it points to like the evil side of marketing in some
mm,
ways, and like you, that's a pain point for you that I feel like some of those gurus use to sell their thing to us, like marketing
yes,
people, right? It's
yes.
like you have to have something that's to sell to the marketing people. You have to have something that's that compelling and that,
Hmm.
I don't know, that much of a pain point and that much of a sore spot to get us to buy stuff, right? Or to do
Hmm.
stuff. You have to make us really feel that pain. So I don't know if I really
Yeah,
have.
have you been grinding and grinding and working day and night and not really getting anywhere in your business? And I've used that,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Hmm.
because I do believe I have a shortcut that makes things easier. But at the same time, like that when I'm talking to somebody one on one, I'm like, let this go.
Yeah.
Like, let this expectation of you've got to meet all of these things, you've got to be able to let that go
Yeah, I
because
think that's
your
why
life
it's hard
is
for me to
not.
hear because like I've used it too. And it's
Yeah.
like I don't know if I necessarily uh agree with it in that it can, I don't know. It's like just use it. Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like be careful how you use these tools because you are affecting people's lives. All
Yes.
purchasing decisions are emotional, and if you're tapping into emotions um, that aren't necessarily good ones, it can, you know, have not good
It's
effects.
it's one of the reasons why I went from high ticket to low ticket.
Yeah.
So I started out low ticket, $17 a month. My program was $17 a month. And then I put it up to 47. I thought that was fair. And then what I was hearing from everybody in the marketplace was price it high, and the ones who really want it will pay. And what I found is the most desperate will pay. And that was icky to me. That was very uncomfortable. So charging 9.97, people were, I had people take my program that I knew didn't have the money. Like because I had other higher level coaching programs and I knew they did not have the money. Like I knew, and they felt like if they join my program, that will be their saving grace.
Yep.
And I know that their situation is unique to them, that they should just be applying what they're learning in my lower level program first before they make this jump.
Yep.
And so I've tried to be really good about saying, like, look, if you don't have the money to afford this, you don't need this right now. What I'm teaching over here is more than enough. This is just a higher level. This is to take you to a higher level. But if you're not even at a level, you don't need to go to the higher level. Like you need to get to this level before you need to go there. So I've been very, very clear. I've tried to be very, very clear with my clients. Um, and that's why I went low ticket. One, everybody should have access to this, whether they're making a lot of money or not. I know that I am actually helping them. And I do come to it with a feeling of compassion for the ones that are spinning their wheels and that are judging themselves and telling themselves, I must suck at this. I'm terrible. I'm no good at business. My husband says I should just quit. Maybe I should just quit. And I'm like, no, there's just a couple of things you need to learn.
Yep.
But I can teach that at a low ticket. I don't need to say there is this one secret that you need to learn. And if you give me $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, I'll give it to you.
Mm.
And so then they're maxing out their credit card or they're borrowing against their house or whatever it is. And I could just easily tell them that one secret for a low ticket. And oftentimes I give it to them for free,
Yep.
and then the support is in the low ticket program. But yeah, I try to be very, very careful about that. And again, I've had mentors that say, you have to go higher ticket, you have to go higher ticket, and you've got to make them, one of my mentors would say, leave them effing tortured when they go to bed at night.
Mm.
And I'm like, I want to do that, but then offer it to them at a reasonable price that I'm not taking advantage of them.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm giving a good product. That same mentor told me that I was giving an inappropriate amount of value for what I'm charging. And
Mm.
at the time I took it as like, oh no, that means I have to charge more. And since then I flipped it. I'm like, damn straight I
Yeah.
am. I am
Perfect.
giving an
Yeah.
inappropriate amount of value for what I charge,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be like these guys. You know, he has a $2,500 product, and I've seen the people that have gone through his program. They're not ready for it. They're not
Yeah.
ready for that. I can, the percentage of people that are actually, and what he's teaching is correct. It's good, but they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
They're desperately running after the next promise that their life is finally going to be easy and they're going to make money, and
Yeah.
they don't even have the foundation that they need in order to make it successful. And so yeah, in the marketing world I'm constantly like trying to find my balance of how many of these tactics do I use that I feel good about, and what's crossing the line for me and being predatory of other people.
Yeah, that's couldn't have said it better myself. It's like that was the feeling I got from a lot of this conversation today was like where it's a lot of introspection, like trying to figure out where the line is for me on a lot of things. And like I've played around a while ago with the podcast idea of like what's your line, right? Like there everybody has lines and like trying to push and figure out where they are. Because a lot of people pretend like they don't, right? And trying to figure out where they are for other people and where they are in yourself is just a powerful lesson or a power my takeaway from today is like figuring out where my lines are. It's going to be
Yeah.
my takeaway from this.
No, I love that. I love that because there is this conversation in the marketing world that the lines should always be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I push, you know, I'll send more emails. I have no problem sending a ton of emails. That's a line that I'm okay. Like other people are like, no, I can't possibly send an email. I know they're not annoyed and they can just say no and they can unsubscribe, right? Um, but yeah, that we had somebody come to, we had a couple of people come to the retreat that I was like, I don't know if they were ready, you know, and they had to make the decision, but they also didn't ask me. So that's the other thing. Like sometimes people jump in no matter how many like warnings I give, they're still like, yeah, no, that's for me. And I'm like, that was not for you. That was
Yeah.
not for you. Yeah. But it ended up good. It ended up fine. So yeah, it's just you, how do you use it for the power of good and not the power of evil, and
Mm.
being aware and not making blanket statements that if you aren't where you need to, if you haven't reached this arbitrary line, like if I'm not a millionaire by now, like I'm not a millionaire by 45, even though I've been doing, you know, this marketing stuff for 20 some years. Well, and I used to say to Tim, if I'd get so upset about it and I'd be crying and I'd be like, if I'm so freaking smart, then why am I not where I want to be?
Yep.
And I just didn't have the ability to notice that the people who were telling me I should be somewhere different were living just a completely different life from what I had made different decisions early in life to get married and to have kids, and I can't take that back.
Yep.
You know, I can't return them. I can't say no more on the kids. Um and so it's just been this realization that, you know, we are where we are. And I say to my clients all the time that this is not a race and this is not a comparison. People will say, they come into my program and say, I'm so behind. I'm like, I don't
Compared to what?
even,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, what does that even mean? You're so behind. You're where you are.
Yeah, you're
And
at the
then,
start of your journey right now. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah.
Or, yeah, they're wherever they are in their journey. You know,
Yeah.
some people come in further, other people come in less, but none of them are better than the other, and
Yep.
none of them are behind the other. They're all where they're at in their own journey, and there is no comparison between the two.
I think what I mean by that is like people that think in those terms generally aren't. they're not present. They're
Mm.
not they're not thinking in the present. It's like right
Yeah.
now is the start of whatever particular journey that you're on. It's like you're not, if you're thinking about yourself anywhere other than like starting the thing that you're doing right now, you're not working on the thing in front of you. You're not being present. And I think that that's what a lot of this, it would solve a lot of these feelings. It's like you don't, you're comparing yourself to somebody else who you
Hmm.
think is where you should be in the future,
Right.
or where you should be right now, but they're at their own, the start of their own journey. They're wherever they
Yep.
are. It's like you need to be
Yep.
present in the present moment in your own life, and that kind of takes away a lot of that comparison stuff.
Yep. 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 And even if, a lot of them I don't even know that they're comparing themselves to other people.
Yeah.
They just have a sense of where, just like I do with like the emails. Like I know what I want to be doing when I'm writing my emails and I'm not there. So I'm frustrated with myself instead of just, like you said, just being like, this is where I am in my journey of being an email writer,
Yeah,
right?
I
In
mean,
my
it's,
email writing journey, this is where I am right now.
yeah, it's comparing yourself to another person, but the other person is you in the future, or like you
Or
another
an
version.
imaginary me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like another
Yeah.
version of yourself that doesn't exist except in your own head. It's
Yep.
like, no,
Yep.
it's all fake. Like focus on what's right in front of you. Yeah,
Love it. All right. I think we had some good conversations this evening.
I think so too.
Ah, it's it was it's good and it's also heavy. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like it still has that feeling of like, the whole thing with like do no evil. I don't know that there's a solution to that. And there's always going to be a sense of that popping up in anything we do, and anybody that you learn from there, like you talked about with lines, they're working within what their limitations are and their lines are, and that's not necessarily where mine is, and always having that awareness of what lines we're willing to cross and what lines we're not, well, what are our lines, and
yeah,
how far we go. So
yeah. It's an important
um
thing to understand, especially when you're given the tools to cross them. Right? It's like we have the tools to cross the line, and we need to
mhm.
really know where they are for us. And we've talked
Yes.
before about the monster in the closet analogy, right? Like if you ignore the monster that's there, it'll get bigger, and then when it comes out, it'll be like this horrible thing, and it'll just like run past the line because you've been ignoring the fact that you could even do it, right? It's like
Yeah.
if you don't acknowledge that you're capable of these horrible things, then it'll run away with you. So, yep,
Yep. Totally agree.
great
Well,
foreboding way to end an episode.
the monster's going to get you.
Yeah, don't be evil, but still sell
um,
stuff.
yeah, that's the thing. And then also, like, what's the difference between a line and a box,
Sure.
right? So
Well, a box
something
is made up of 4 lines, so
four lines that are constraining your thinking. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do. Yeah,
that's what we are kind of saying earlier. Like, the difference between something you're not built to do and the difference between that and something you're scared to do or don't have the skills to do.
yeah.
And so, what is a moral line and what is a box that you're putting yourself into because you don't think you can go further
Yeah,
or
I think a
because you
box.
don't?
Yeah, a box is made up of other people's lines that you've accepted as your
There you
own,
go.
right? It's like you've accepted them as your own, but they're not real, and like you need to really understand where your lines are that you won't
Yeah.
cross. Get rid
And
of
you got to
everybody else.
kind of push to find them.
Yep.
I've pushed to the point where I'm like, yep, don't like that one.
Yep.
Don't like that one. I did the high ticket offer, and I'm like, I'm really, really don't feel like I'm being a good person right now. I
Hmm.
think I'm being a really crappy person. And I'm still making money. It's not like I was being crappy because I was making money. It was the predatory side of it, that I felt was predatory.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's you don't know until you've pushed that far, and that can be a scary thing too.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
well, Duncan, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation this evening. I
Right.
think it's a really good example of the types of conversations we have when we are not recording. So if you guys want to know what Allie and Duncan just sit around talking about, it's this sort of stuff.
That's it.
and random animal facts and, things and fruit and
Yep.
things of that sort. So thank you, Duncan, for coming on and chatting. And for everybody else, make sure you give us a like and a follow if we're here on YouTube. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, give us a follow, give us a review, even better if your platform allows for reviews. And then definitely join our Marketing Ping Pong Facebook group. It is free. We share free marketing information there all the time. Because I believe in empowering people, even if they're not paying for it. I want to help you guys. This is something that I do from the heart, and I know that Duncan does as well, as far as really wanting to help people. And the Marketing Ping Pong group is a great way that we can help you. So make sure you join the group, not the page. You're looking for the little ping pong paddle next to it says Marketing Ping Pong. There's a little ping pong paddle there. Make sure you join the group, and hopefully we'll see you there. And for sure, we'll see you next time.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.